We will now act on the City Club report on Measure 86, Higher Education Bonds. Charles McGee, Chair of the committee, will present the report and move for adoption of the report's majority recommendation. Charles will be followed by Eric Fruits, committee member, who will present the minority report and move to amend the motion by substituting the minority recommendation. The meeting will then be open for debate and vote by City Club members. Did you all get that? We've got something a little different happening here. Now I will turn the podium over to Charles McGee and Eric Fruits.
Thank you, Karen. So my name is Charles McGee, and I had the wonderful opportunity to chair this committee. I grew up literally about 10 blocks down from here when this community was perhaps a place that many people were afraid of, and they didn't want to come to, and it was a little different. Part of why, after listening and all the research that the committee did, we listened to a lot of folks, and we talked to a whole bunch of folks. Part of why I really sort of feel like this is a great opportunity, not only for our state, but for us as a people to sort of say what we believe in is because of the community that I grew up in. So what this ballot measure does really three things. So one, creates a framework. Creates a framework for the legislature to sort of figure out how do we get more Oregonians in college and or trade school. Two, what it really does is it says that, look, as a state, we're becoming more diverse. We're becoming more complicated. We're becoming more nuanced. And because of everything we know about higher education funding, and because of everything we know about poverty, and because of everything we know about the complexities of living in today's world, we've got to figure out as a community how we take care of the least among us. How do we give them the opportunity? How do we give them a fair shot? Third thing that it does, it literally says, so part of the thing that the committee really debated a lot about was, so why do we even need an opportunity like this? So why do we need a state treasurer who will bring up a bill like this? Why even have this conversation? And we spent a whole bunch of time on it. But part of where we came to, and real smart people, one of the things that amazes me about City Club and sort of this opportunity is you get a bunch of volunteers who will spend a lot of time debating about a lot of stuff. But what was so amazing about sort of the third point here is that folks really recognized that as a state, because of our changing demographics, because of sort of where this state is, we need bold leadership. There's some folks will say, well, the state treasurer shouldn't be focused on this. We shouldn't be talking about this. This is, arbitrage. This is, all this stuff. But here's the reality. We're in a more diverse state. Poverty doesn't do well for our economy. We know everything that we know says higher education, whether it's college, whether it's community college, whether it's a trade school, helps and does pretty well for business, helps and do pretty well for poverty. Again, growing up in this community, I just keep thinking, what would have happened if something like this was around a couple years ago? What would have happened? So, thank you all, and this is why our committee voted in the majority. And make the motion for the City Club body to approve this.
Well, I don't know how to beat that. We've been here for 2 hours, right? So, Mr. Parliamentarian, can we just have like 10 seconds for a little booty shake to kind of get our blood going? You want to do that? Can we do that? No? Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to dance then because I need to get my blood going. I cannot believe you guys could sit here all this time. So the minority agrees with much of the committee's report. My name is Eric Fruits. I'm on the minority. Thank you. And I'm on the minority for this measure, Measure 86. And this measure is fatally flawed for two kind of seemingly contradictory reasons. It does too little and it does too much. On the one hand, it does too little. Given the Treasurer's current expectations, the fund created by this measure would provide only about $5 million a year in financial assistance. Now, $5 million sounds like a lot, but it's not. It's less than 10% of what the legislature already allocates to the Oregon Opportunity Grant, an already existing program. That's less than 10%. At the same time, the State General Fund, because of this program, would have to spend about $4.5 million in interest payments on the bonds. That's $4.5 million that's taken away from other programs. $4.5 million that's taken away from K-12 schools, from other programs, from health programs, from mental health programs. Then, if you look at financial markets and they bring in only slightly smaller returns, this measure would actually make Oregon worse off. And that's a gamble that cannot be made with our taxpayer money. So that's how it does too little. On the other hand, it does too much. The measure changes the Oregon Constitution. And I know we often take that as a very light responsibility, but it's a big deal. It's a really big deal, and it should not be taken lightly. This measure creates a constitutionally protected fund. The fund would be virtually untouchable for any purpose other than to provide financial assistance to Oregon higher education students. Now, the minority has not seen any evidence indicating that providing financial assistance to a small group of people, Oregon students in higher education, is such a spending priority that it requires its own constitutionally protected fund that is protected from legislative appropriations. The state constitution identifies specific uses for general obligation bond proceeds, things like building bridges. Any use of the proceeds not specified in the Constitution is prohibited. The prohibition is deliberate. It's a deliberate protection to safeguard the state's assets. Treasurer Wheeler himself said that many state legislatures do not have the power to do what this initiative allows. It's important to remember the state's budget reflects the state's priorities. It's a deliberative process that reflects the simple fact that we have limited resources and we cannot have it all. The minority recommends a no on Measure 86. And with that, the highlighting says I'm supposed to do something. Can I do it?
Please do.
Oh, then, when he finished, Eric will move to amend the motion, substituting the minority recommendation for the minority recommendation. So I'm going to do what they told me to do. So I make that motion. Thank you. That's what I was hoping for. Thank you.
This is some leftover papers there. The microphone to my right is labeled yes for those who support the measure on higher education bonds, and the one to my left is labeled no for those who oppose the measure. Will the following members please line up behind the yes microphone? We are debating whether to, we're only having one debate. So there's no debate on whether or not to substitute. This is just a debate on either the majority position or the minority position. Is that correct? Excuse me while I confer with the parliamentarian.
If you tell them to come to yes, means they're speaking in favor of the petition. No means they're speaking against the measure. So yes is for the measure, no is
And
against
it's
the
only
measure.
one debate.
And it's only one debate. It's a very special process for this kind of event. It doesn't happen otherwise. Parliamentary procedures. And it says here they are going to speak.
Okay. So here's what we're going to do. If you line up to comment at the yes microphone, that is in favor of the majority report. If you line up to comment and line up at the no microphone, that is a comment in favor of the minority report. We have one debate. Okay?
Yes majority, no minority.
Yes majority, no minority. So The debate is on the substance of the measure. And then we will vote on whether or not to substitute the minority report for the majority report. The names are, on the yes microphone, Julia G., I cannot read your last name, and Eric Zimmerman. And on the no microphone, Christine McCants. I will first recognize a member opposing the ballot measure. That would be Christine.
Thank you very much. Hello, Christine McCants, City Club member and vice chair of this committee. I want to start out by saying that I strongly support funding for higher education. And as an occasional recipient, I believe that funding for the Oregon Opportunity Grant is woefully inadequate. I also support the creation of an endowment that would be used as a financial asset to support students moving into the future. Neither of those actions requires an amendment to the Constitution that this measure requires. The amendment to this Constitution is specifically required because we want to change the definition of capital that would be used to allow the legislature to issue capital bonds to fund the endowment. That is the protection of assets that Eric just spoke of. I believe that we should substitute the minority report for this, vote no on the measure, and we should, all of us who support higher education in Oregon, move forward to increase pressure on the legislature for direct appropriation of both the Oregon Opportunity Grant and an endowment to support it going into the future. So as a strong proponent of higher education, I strongly urge a no vote on this measure and on this report.
My name is Eric Zimmerman. I work at Multnomah County, and I'm on your board of governors here at the City Club of Portland. It is my pleasure to speak in favor of this measure. I think that generations ago we said that K-12 education was something that we were adopting as a society. I think that we did that because our workforce demanded it, and today we're watching that our workforce continues to demand an educated society. I don't think that stops at K-12, and I think that any step that we take in the right direction to continue it into technical, into bachelor's, and further is important. I want to find an Oregon, and I want to find a city that is less about education access is based on your access to finances and funds, and more back to being access based on your merit and what you do as a student. I think that this is the primary step out of generational poverty, and I think that this is, and Eric, you're right, this can go further, but I think that right now, right here, this is the first step, and we need to tell the legislature to put the money into this endowment. You should support this. And thank you very much.
Do we have Julia in the audience who wanted to comment? No, Julia. Okay, thank you for your statements. Since debate is finished, we will now vote on the motion to substitute the report's minority recommendation to a vote no on Measure 86. At this stage of our proceedings, neither a count vote nor a written ballot is required. A simple majority vote determines whether or not the club supports the minority report and substitutes it for the majority report. So now this is where Eric's suggestion comes into play. Please stand if you agree with the motion to substitute the minority report recommending a no vote on Measure 86. Please stand. Okay, thank you. Please stand if you disagree with the motion to substitute the minority report recommending a no vote on Measure 86. The motion to substitute the minority report fails. If you would like a count of the votes, please stand up. City Club members only may vote. Standing up now is if you want an actual count of the votes. Otherwise, the motion to amend to adopt the minority report fails. Okay, then don't stand up again. Well, I mean, you can stand up again if you want. You can stand up anytime you want. City Club of Portland has voted not to substitute the minority recommendation, and we now vote on whether to adopt the majority report recommending a yes vote on Measure 86. You know what to do. Thank you to Charles, Eric, and to the committee for their hard work.